Hi, I'm Aaron, and today we're going to be taking apart a Northern Telecom Dawn Telephone. This is a beautiful phone. Looks lovely in a desk anywhere. It's very simple to take apart. All we need today is our screwdriver and a little thumbtack that we're going to use to get the dial off. So, we'll start with the handset. It's held together by two very visible screws. You do not have to take them out all the way. In fact, I would recommend leaving them in place, or else you're going to have a headache trying to get everything back together. So as you can see, they just sort of stick out a little bit, and that pops right off. It's got a little hook on the back of it, see right here, so that clips into the end here. This is really neat. The receiver is actually held in place by a plastic bracket. To get that off, we simply twist it and counterclockwise, and it pops right out. There's a little grommet there. This one's seen better days. It's a little dirty. This is what you expect with an older phone, of course. You put it back on, we just slide it in. You can see the tab there. So we have a notch. We line up the notch with the tab. Make sure the wires go through the wire slot. That's going to be our challenge here. And once everything's in place, there's tabs actually on both sides, and then you twist it back into place. As you can see, the handset wire has little guide holes here for all the wires so that you don't stress them. And everything just sort of slides back together. We put our clip end in first, and it should sit nice and flush. You tighten these two screws back up. And I would actually recommend using a slightly smaller screwdriver than I'm using today. This one's a little wider than the screw. It was handy, so I grabbed it. And to take the rest of the phone apart, we'll flip it over. You see there's 3 screws here. They come out. Again, we don't need to take them out all the way. I'll show you. These ones actually won't come out. So as we unscrew them, we get to a certain point, and then you can just pull them out that far. So from there, you just pull right out. So we'll do that with the other 2 screws, and that will take off this gold ring around the bottom. You can see here we have the volume control for the ringer. We'll show you more about that in a minute here. And you can see this is a hardwired line cord. There is no modular plug for it. So with those 3 off, this comes right off, and we can just slide it right out. And we flip it back over, and the phone comes apart nice and easy. The ringers, or the dial is held in by 2 small screws. Just a few turns on those to loosen them off, and the dial will pop right out. Again, we don't need to take the screws all the way out. Why make life more difficult for yourself? The cover comes off the dial very easily, much like any 500 set. You turn it all the way. You take a pin, stick it in this little hole here. You're going to push down a little metal contact, and we just keep turning. And at that point, it should just pop right off. You see this one was actually repurposed. Somebody had written their number on it and flipped it over, but because I like having the original Bell logo, I flipped it back. It's a plastic number plate, very easy to clean with a soft, wet cloth once you have the dial face off. put it back on, we just find this little notch here. We basically want to get this tab into this tiny little notch right here. So I'll just show you with the screwdriver. We come up here and into the notch. So we're going to do that same thing with this tab here. So I'm going to line up the tab to that groove, get everything in place, and in theory, once I get it all lined up, that is, it just clips back into place. And we're back in business. If you need to take off the network for whatever reason, you will have to take off this bracket first. You could probably get it out if you really tried hard, but why make your life more difficult than you have to? Take the screw all the way out. The bracket comes right off. And then we have a single screw right here holding the network in place. It's a very small screw, comes off nice and easy. And then the network just pops right out. There's two little brackets there that hold this end of the network in place. So we're just going to slide everything back together here. And then I put our screw back in. And just like that, that works nice and tight. Here's our hook switch mechanism. When the hook switch goes down, this actually comes up, which of course changes the contacts, which are connected between the network and the line and all the fun stuff. The ringer is a single bell ringer. As I mentioned, there is a dial on the back, this guy here. When I move that, it moves this stopper back and forth, which means that we have short rings here, we have long rings over here, changes the complete tone of the bell. To remove the ringer, there are 3 screws. There's one here by the hook switch, there's one by the back end of the phone here, and there's one right by the bell. I'm not going to remove the ringer at this time because it just would create a lot of extra work. The line gets connected back here. This particular line cord was actually connected with 4 wires, but we only need L1 and L2 for a modern loop start line. Putting everything back together is as easy as taking it apart. First we put this guy back in where he needs to be. Careful as you do this too. You don't want to pinch any wires. So be careful because the network is right there. You could damage a wire if you don't do this carefully. There are little plastic guides for this so that you can line everything up perfectly. Screws nice and easy right in. We're going to take our dial and flip it over and slide everything back into place. There are little plastic clips that go into this bracket as well. Once the phone has the dial in the brackets, you tighten the screws and everything's back in place. Once the dial is back on, we're going to flip this cover back on, once again being careful about the wires. It's very easy to tell where everything's supposed to go because there's, it's a round phone, but there's only so many features. On the back, we need to make sure that we feed the line cord through this piece. There is a notch here for the line cord that goes right here where the line cord comes out. Very easy. We just slide these 3 screws back into place, snap everything on. Make sure our curly cord comes out nicely through the hole provided. And then tighten these 3 screws again. So there you have it. That is the complete disassembly and reassembly of a Northern Telecom Dawn telephone.